Hello, Jackie. It's been a
Hey,
long time coming to
it
recording
has
this
been.
story. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. I'm very excited for this conversation. How are you doing?
I am too. I mean, going back to like when we first met at the beginning of this amazing work, um,
Yes,
the intentionality that has been just behind building this organization. I am so grateful that we're here today. Your feedback, your support, your love of not only me, but for Myskinglobal as an
yes,
organization has been incredible. And so, as we get into this space, I just wanted you to know how much I appreciate you and I honor this opportunity for us to be here today, talking about colorism and beauty that lies within all of us as a people.
yes.
So, anything you want to say at the beginning of this conversation, Jackie?
Yeah, I want to say, I'm always fascinated by conversations like this, and I think this kind of conversation is one of my favorite conversations that I have with you. Um, it gives me a chance to really actually take time to explore how I feel about colorism because actually it's not something I put a lot of thought or energy into. To be honest, unless I see something negative happening or having a negative experience, then I have to process it. But other than that, I'm just who I am and people are who they are. And I think everybody's amazing. So, here we are. So I'm here to share that with everyone today.
Yeah, well, the powerhouse, Jackie. Honestly, it's truly an honor to have you here. And thank you for your willingness to share with the world about just what your thoughts, experiences has been as far as colorism. So why don't we jump right into it? I just want to start with the number one question that I ask of many that I interact with. How does being in your skin color make you actually feel? How does it make you feel? And can you please elaborate on that?
I
If you
can. I could say so many things, but I'm going to start off with this that I think for me personally, it's one of the oddest questions I think that human beings can ask each other. And I think it's odd because we're born in our skin and our skin color develops into whatever it's going to be. And we will have been that our entire lives. So how else can you feel other than normal to begin with? Okay, so my first answer is normal. My second answer is I love being in my skin because it's mine, but it's not the being in my skin that's an issue. What the issue is what other people think about my skin. And that's only ever been the issue when it comes to skin for me, unless I have a skin condition that is causing me some discomfort on some level when it comes to my skin or the color of my skin or whatever about my skin is always about someone else's perception of what they think my skin is or what they think my skin should be. So on
mm,
that note, I have been told many things. I've been
I want
told
to
that
hear
I'm too,
it.
yeah, I've been told
Yes.
that I'm too light. By some people, I've been told that I'm too dark. By some people, I've been told that I have the wrong skin by some people. And I thought all of that was actual, just complete and total heresy because number one, there's no way in the world that my skin can be wrong because it's mine and it's right for me. And number two, there's no such thing as being too light or too dark because I am what I am and I'm always going to be this. And I'm very happy to be right here where I am. I don't want to change anything.
Mm,
But when I was younger, though, I wasn't exactly happy about my skin because I would be told things like kids my age would ask if I was adopted because I wasn't the same complexion as my parents. Or there would be some kind of comment made, like my mom would say things like, oh, if your grandmother were alive, she would love you. And I'm thinking, oh, is it my cool personality or is that I love to share information and all these things? And she's like, no, because of your skin, which was a real downer for me. And I'm thinking, if you can only love me for my skin, then you're not loving me. You're just loving a very, just a part of me. So after enduring that for a while and many negative things being said to me about my complexion or things that I considered negative being said to me about my complexion. I came home one day and I thought, you know what, and I was very young when I did this. I remember my mom frying chicken and thinking, okay, if she can put chicken in this thing called Crisco and it make the chicken darker, then I would slather myself in Crisco and go outside and literally bake myself into a darker complexion. That's what I tried to do for some time. Um, it didn't work. Also, I would try things like my grandmother would tell me these interesting things like, don't drink coffee, because if you drink coffee, it make your skin darker. So here I am in grade school and I am drinking 3 pots of coffee every day after school, black with sugar, because I'm trying to make my skin darker. I would sit in the mirror after my mom would force me to get my hair done. And my hair is not straight. My hair is very poofy and curly and stretchy and all the good things that I love about my hair. And she would always take me to get my hair pressed. And I was sitting in front of the mirror, looking at my straight hair on the verge of tears and looking at my complexion and thinking, and this feeling came from really deep within, that there was something about my skin that was a lie.
Mm.
There was something about it that it wasn't organic. It wasn't what it was supposed to be, like it had been tampered with. And I
Mm.
always felt that as a child that, you know, what is it about me that makes me feel like my complexion is not what it should be for the person that I am? If I'm a Black person, why isn't my skin darker?
Mm.
So those are the feelings that I had. But again, those things were not organic to me. That was because of what was coming in, filtering in from other people. And I think
Mm.
that plays a huge part in how people see themselves, because we're oftentimes looking at ourselves through the lens of someone else.
That's right. And what is that? So when you feel that you're supposed to be in a different kind of color, when you feel that your skin color is perceived differently, and that's what um, you feel is a gap. Um,
Mhm.
where do you think that comes from, and how is that relate to beauty? And why is it that you wanted to be more of a dark skin color? Where does that come from,
Because it feels
and why?
honest. Darker skin feels honest.
Because you're
And
Black?
yes.
Okay.
And I just felt like when I looked at myself, I wasn't seeing what I was supposed to be.
Mm.
And I'm not a type of person who, I'm a very humble person. I like to think I've never thought of myself as better than anyone or worse than anyone or anything like that. And it's something about living, I live in America, and it's something about growing up in a predominantly Black neighborhood. And I come from a Black family, and we have all kinds of shades in my family, all beautiful shades in my family. Um, but for some reason, they tend to revere shades that are lighter brown, like medium to lighter brown, and so on and so forth. And there's always something said about that. I think the history of that comes from, and I'm going to probably say the same thing that everybody else says because this is what I know, is that, with mixing through slave trade and all of that kind of thing, and what happened with when babies were born from the mixing, that you had the ones with maybe a little bit lighter skin, maybe a little bit longer hair, and how they were treated differently, how they were treated better than, and they were able to work in the house as opposed to out in the field. Um, Not that their outcomes were so much better than anybody else's, but it was perceived that they were better, all the way to the history of hair care and the beginning of relaxing and perming our hair and whatnot, and how they would take pictures of lighter skinned young ladies with naturally curly hair and put them on the box and say, hey, you want to look like this, buy this product so you can look like this. And these young girls whose pictures are on the boxes don't even use these products. So everything was kind of pointing to because the way the system is set up, which we have no control over, if you look this way, you will feel better about yourself, you'll be better, and you'll have better opportunities.
And by looking this
Um,
way, you mean by
by having
being,
a lighter skin or having a different texture hair, looking more like our oppressors. The more we can
and
look like the
so
ones that were oppressing us, the better off we would be.
would those be the systems that you're talking about? When you say systems, what
I'm talking
system?
about the racist system. I'm talking about the system that was born out of racism and out of slavery, which is the core of our capitalist system. Capitalism was born out of slavery. And that's a system where, it's all about consumption and producing and production and, making the cotton mills, because the cotton mills could pick more cotton than the humans, and you didn't have to pay. Well, you didn't pay the humans, but you didn't have to feed them or do anything. You
Mhm.
just more, and creating pockets of money and looking at us, even though after we were freed and emancipated, still seeing us as a core vein of income, whether it be through the prison systems, whether it be through creating situations where we would get uh, more tickets, or whatever the case is, more tickets. We're paying these ridiculous tickets where some other people may get tickets and may not have to pay anything. Charging us more, upcharging on rent, upcharging in stores in Black neighborhoods, all these things to continually kind of drain us of more income, and creating all these things, knowing that we're not going to, if we don't have money, we're going to still want to look like we have money. So we might want to purchase more expensive items as opposed to being more practical in our choices. So there's lots of different ways that we have been used to as a source of income. And one of the biggest ways is dividing us and saying, well, if you look this way and you have more earning power and you look better, and we'll allow you to come and live in these neighborhoods and buy these kinds of homes and whatnot, then of course, so you can maintain the status of some of us, we buy into it, and so on
And
and so forth.
so I hate to, yeah, thank you, Jackie.
Mhm,
And so you're talking about systemic oppression.
mhm.
Um, you're talking about systems that were put in place to discriminate against the
Right.
BIPOC
And are still in
society.
place. Yes.
And you're talking about capitalism, and I'm wondering what that capitalism actually, what are some of the intersectionalities of capitalism, colorism, as well as beauty? What does it have to do with beauty? And how does that actually, is it related to mental health at all? And if so, can you
Sure,
please?
it is. From some of the things that I've been made aware of. If you want to look at how capitalism plays into colorism, like I just described, if you have more earning power
Mhm.
based on what you look, and an example is some time ago, maybe families that were maybe more Italian, but a darker skinned Italian, would lie and say that they were Black because they were more acceptable Black because of the color of their skin and the curl of their hair. And people would want to hire them quicker than they would want to hire a person who was darker and had a tighter curl pattern. And also what they would do, they would select dark-skinned people to marry into their family to keep color in their family. And that was very purposeful. You also have that with even some Native Americans who had some mixing and decided that it was more profitable for them to be Black than to be Native American. And I know this will probably may cause some uproar, but I have known people. I'm speaking from my experience. I'm not speaking for all Native American people. These are experiences that are mine, and these are people that I personally know, and the stories that I know that they have told to me. And this is something that has actually happened. And so when they do that, they can maintain that status quo of being Black. So they may be 95% Native American and 5% Black, but you never ever hear them say that they're Native American. Everything is about Black and Blackness and Black power and fighting for Black rights and Black justice, but you never ever hear them say anything about being Native American. Why is that? So it's not always about not wanting to be brown. Sometimes it is wanting to be brown. Whatever it is that we think gives us more value, that's what we tend to strive for. And that's what capitalism buys into. If we make you more valuable and we give more value and we give you more access to money, then you will spend those monies on these products and we will make these products just like for people when it comes to skin bleaching. If you want lighter skin because we continue telling you that the beauty standard is white women and you want to lighten your skin and you want to change your eye color, let us help you. Here's a product that you can buy that will help you to achieve that look. And we'll make sure that you have a never-ending supply.
And what does that do to our psyche? What does it do to a culture of consumption, a culture of inadequacy? To me, what I call a psychologically traumatized world. This is an epidemic as I see it. It's a global phenomenon that continues to build on the backs of BIPOC communities, about just how small we are as people. And you and I know that we don't believe that. Personally, I believe that this conversation is about all of us coming together to recognize the beauty that exists in all of us, but also to recognize what we're talking about here. Colorism as a systemic issue, mental health as a result of it, and also the continued exploitation of BIPOC youth. And I want you to kind of dig deep into that, even on the issues that you have highlighted, such as how you perceived yourself at a very young age and how the community perceived you. And then, of course, stepping into the economic welfare. I want you to think about what you have seen as a mother, what you've seen and heard and experienced growing up as a Black African American woman in America. What would you say to young people growing up today, looking, or BIPOC youth around the world? What message should they hear from someone like you?
Well, first of all, I think the message, I would love for them to hear the message from their families, from the beginning of their existence, from the root of their education. They need to hear and see that they are valued, because that is where we first learn that we have lesser value, is through our family interactions oftentimes, or close family relatives or people that our family work with or whatnot. Those are the things, and in school and whatnot. And then when we hear those things in school and we bring that information back home, how are the families responding to that? What are they saying to the child? When a parent is angry at a child and they tell you, well, I just hate you because you're Black. How how else would you expect that person to feel as they grow up? No, even if that was only said to them one time, they will never forget that. It's like you taking them and beating them and stripping them and taking every ounce of everything good in them out of them and just they're just a shell. And so when you put that kind of negativity into a person, okay, wait a minute. Let me say this. I don't know how many people, and I cannot remember this doctor's name. She does an experiment in the schools, as she used to many years ago. She may still do it, where she would talk about racism, and how that impacts people. And she created this test where instead of looking at skin color, she looked at eye color, and she's like, okay, I'm going to choose half the room is going to be the brown-eyed half, and the other half is going to be the blue-eyed half, but the blue-eyed half is the undesirable. And what does that feel like? And how would it make those kids feel to be part of the undesirable group because of their blue eyes, which they cannot change? Okay. Also, she would put up this little picture, and it was the pictures of, either little girls or little boys, ranging anywhere from the whitest of white to the darkest of dark. And they would ask children who were like 4 or 5 years old, which child is the good child? And they would point to the white child. Which child is the bad child? And they would point to the darkest child. And I thought to myself, yes, here's where did they get, why in the world, what tells them that the white child has to be the good child? We don't know anything about the child or their character or their upbringing. Why are they just automatically good? And why are we automatically bad? How did we come to that? And so I question what these children, we're talking about preschoolers. They haven't been in school long enough to learn that kind of lesson. They had to start earlier in their life. Where did it come from? If something wasn't said about them to them, then what were they hearing people say about themselves or others that indicated that there was something about having dark skin that made a person bad? We're doing this to ourselves. We keep saying what other people outside of our race is doing to us, but we're the only ones who are perpetuating it. The lies wouldn't make any difference if we weren't the ones who were spreading them amongst ourselves. We're feeding this crap to our kids, and they're growing up. And then guess what? The capitalist system has anything and everything that you care about, want, desire, hope for, wish for, seek, your wildest imagination. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, I don't want to look like how I look, there's a cream, a concoction, a surgery, anything you want, and you can come out looking like somebody completely different if you want to. The way society is set up, we're damaged and brainwashed and filled with these lies. And then as we go through life, we're provided every opportunity to buy into the desire to change ourselves based on the lies that we are hearing. And as long as we believe the lies, we'll always find a product. If we have the money, if we can get it, borrow it, steal it, we will always find a way to be able to alter ourselves so that we can be better. Look at the way that women apply their makeup now. Makeup was created so that we can enhance our natural beauty. I don't wear makeup, by the way, and I don't have anything against it. If I wanted to, I'd put on a little makeup, just enhance what I have. But they had this thing called Beat Your Face, and all this contouring and everything. So by the time you finish, you could look like somebody else, and you don't look anything like who you are. You could be lighter, darker. You could be a completely from a different culture, a different everything, if you wanted to. All you have to do is be able to afford to buy what's in the little jars and to learn how to apply it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. So young girls around the world, and boys alike, what I'm getting from this message is that do your research, learn who you are, appreciate yourself as you are. There's a message, a very strong message that you send here, Jackie, about self-love and self-acceptance. And we can only do that if we learn our history, if we learn our political what is the right word that I'm looking for? Where did all these systemic issues come from?
Yeah. Our
Enlighten
history, maybe.
yourself. History,
Yeah.
yes, yes. What history teaches us. Um, we can only be better people if we understand where we come from. Where we come from informs where we would be tomorrow. And to the future generations, the message that you're hearing from Jackie is that those systems do not define you.
Yeah.
You get to choose what direction you take. You get to love yourself. And all these things that you hear that are perpetuated by these other systems that are out to, like capitalism that Jackie talked about, that is robbing you of your money, but more really robbing you of your health, um, isn't worth it. And if you understood more of it, you would know from a personal experience that Jackie is sharing here that that is superficial. Where does beauty come from, Jackie? How would you define beauty?
I've always heard people say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. But what does that mean if the beholder is a fool? Okay. I don't have a definition for beauty because beauty is diverse. Every culture, every ethnicity has their own standard of beauty. And it could be anywhere from the jewelry that you wear, the way you wear your hair, to the elongation of your neck, to the markings on your skin, to the chiseling away of your teeth and making them pointy. Whatever it is that that culture and that group of people designs as gorgeous, that's what it is. So who are we to define beauty when beauty is everywhere and it's different? And you can combine things. You might decide, you know what, I want to look like this tomorrow. You can decide to look like anything if you want to, as long as you love the core. Don't love the look of someone else more than you love the look of yourself. We can look like anything we want to. There's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that makes it wrong is when you prefer to look like someone else other than looking like yourself. So there is no definition for beauty. Beauty is as beauty is, irregardless to who's beholding it and what their opinion is.
Mhm. That's beautiful. Very well said. Thank you. Um, and so with that message, and with uh, a world full of young people that are confused about the world in front of them, the world that perceives them to be different, the world that wants to define them, and define the journey that they would have, their pathway to success,
Mhm.
and the willingness to sometimes even take their lives because of
Mhm.
a skin color that they did not choose to be in.
Right.
What sort of what would be your call to action to educators, perhaps to policymakers? Um, what would you, in a perfect world, how would you, what would you advise to these young people?
Well, one of the things and the core reason why I'm even involved with Myskinglobal is really the answer to that question. The education that you provide to the kids. And we're not talking about just the education about, being Black and, and where all that comes from. Number one, your education spans beyond slavery. Because we need to understand that we had a whole existence long before American slavery. Okay. Also, you talk about the history of our skin, the scientific history of our skin. what the purpose of having the melanin, how that strengthens our skin, what that does for us, the region that we lived in, that we come from, and why that it was important for us to have more pigmentation, because we had, more sun, and it was protection to us, and it's strong. And everything about us is strong. There's nothing wrong with any part of it. And when a child goes into a class, into the class that you provide, and they hear that the history of what makes them comes out of strength and has purpose, reason, and it's beautiful. And it's even more beautiful if you love yourself enough to take care of yourself and let everything be what it is, what it was created to be in all of its glory. Those kids get to walk out of that kind of education and see the world from a completely different vantage point. They can see themselves from a different vantage point. They see themselves more than just a caste system, cast into a you are the least because we choose to put you in the least. We don't want you to feel good about yourself, so we're going to dump all this knowledge into you that's wrong, and we're going to change history even as you go through school and look at history, and we're going to wash away the color in history so that history is presented in a way that's not true. So it helps us to understand beyond reading what's in the books. It helps us to understand the knowledge of our creation is stronger than any written word. And knowing that and carrying that in our spirits. And the thing is, in our core, we know it, but we don't get a chance to tap into it because we're constantly fed the lies day after day after day. When we are exposed to the truth of the truth, it ignites something inside, and it comes up, and we feel different, and we start feeling the truth, and we recognize who we are. And that's what a lot of people who are against us don't want to see happen. So as long as Myskinglobal, continues to go out and share this truth about the strength of every part of us, especially our skin, and the history of our skin, and what that meant, and what it means, and what it's going to mean in the future. And how, when you look at history of our people and the wealth that we came from, when we did before our people even knew that white people were a thing. And they would come to our country, our motherland, our continent, and would see the wealth, and would write to Europe about, oh, these people that have wealth, they have these castles, this, that, and the other. If you really look at history, a lot of the things that we look at in Europe resemble a lot of our history in Africa, and how our buildings were built and how our castles looked. They're very similar. Okay.
So the biggest organ on our body, called skin, the
Mhm.
diversity that exists in all of it
Mhm.
is what also divides us.
Absolutely.
And so my other question to you, Jackie, is do young people have a role in this? What can they do to shape tomorrow?
Of
How
course
do
they have a
they
role.
help Myskinglobal in spreading, in doing this work, and not only spreading the message, but um, do they have a stake in this? And if so, what could they potentially do?
Absolutely. The stake is walking out of the lie. The stake is, perpetuating truth. The stake is a willingness to learn and grow beyond what has been presented to us. If young people could just allow their minds to go beyond the limited knowledge that has been presented to us, to allow themselves to ask why? Why do you look at me and see someone negative, someone bad? And look into it. And the thing is, the information's there. You get the information from Myskinglobal. You have the World Wide Web that you can pull up documents and actually see documents that are written that will give you history, good history about us and who we are. And being able to share that history and being able to put that history in your family. When you hear a negative person, when you hear a person in your family or a friend or a schoolmate or an employee that you're working with, when you hear them say something about themselves, be willing to impart that truth, share that light, the light of the truth that you now know, share it with them and help them to find this information and help them to spread the word, because it's very important. You know, we come from a history of storytellers. Why can't we tell the good stories about our past? And why can't we tell the good stories about coming up out of the hole of oppression that we have been forced into today?
Mhm.
We should share those things. That is what it is. You talk, you know, young people talk about all kinds of things. Let's talk about things that actually really matter. Things that will shift our life and shift the trajectory of where our futures lie. Talk about that.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about a better world that we would love to live in. Let's talk about a world where all humanity recognizes its values, a world
Yes.
where each one of us um, thrive, a world where our young people can truly see who they are as a people and not a lesser. Um, a world where diversity equates um, strength.
Yes.
It's about humanity because all of us are just beautiful, right? Regardless of
Yes.
the color of our skin. A world
Yes.
where mental health is no longer
Yeah.
based on the biggest organ that we all share.
Right.
A world, a world um, that you and I don't have to think about pouring all those poisonous chemicals like mercury, high
Mm-hmm.
levels of hydroquinone and steroids
Mm-hmm.
to wear out our beautiful, precious melanin.
Yes.
Um, yeah, so with that, I want to ask you this question in closing.
Okay.
And I really hope that in talking about beauty, in talking about all of these conversations that we've had about colorism, about systemic oppression and economic welfare and all that is underneath all this big umbrella, um, the mental health aspect to our young people continues to be a major factor and really front and center to Myskinglobal's curriculum work. Um, how do we, as a people, um, really share and begin to build a skin positive network um, around the world? What would be your call to action around that?
I think one of the things we can do, one of the many things we can do, we have pockets of culture within our dynamic where we see adults pouring into their children, never saying what they can't be and what they can't do and what's wrong, always telling them what they can do and to support, you know, your people, and you're strong and you're this and you're that, and not making everything about the skin, but love the skin that you're in. Because you're bigger than your skin and you're bigger than your hair and you're bigger than your eye color and you're bigger than where you know you hail from, and you're bigger than the socioeconomic system that you come from. You are so much bigger than that. And it just being able to pour into a person to really believe that they can achieve anything, anywhere, that they put their heart to it and not make it based on any particular part of their personage. But just because you are human and you have ability and you have strength, whatever your cognitive ability, you don't have to be a genius. You don't have to have the best IQ, but wherever you are in life, be your best, do your best, and enjoy life and embrace it and dream big and help them tap into resources that will help them to achieve these goals and be the example. Because poor examples is what got us to this point to begin with. Poor examples from believing the lies. Let's be better examples to our kids, and they will be better examples to the next generation.
Amen to that. So one last question I've had several times that I feel intrigued to ask you is, you and I are in closer proximity with our skin tones. So I've been asked several times, what does a girl like you, who look like you, know about being in a dark skin color? What would you say to that?
Because a girl that looks like me and is me has been identified as dark skin. I can be identified as anything by whomever. A white person will look at me and say I'm dark skinned. A very, very light skinned Black person will look at me and say that I'm dark skinned. And not only that I'm dark skinned, but that my skin is not right to be a family member of theirs. I'm a person who is very much aware of the history of what it is, the paper bag test. And that I am darker than a paper bag. And what that means to a person like me within my own race. So I am fully aware of what it means to be considered on both ends. And to be honest, I don't think either end is right. I am who I am, and I'm made the way that I'm made. I'm the shade that I am naturally, and I love it.
So love yourself just the way you are.
Yeah,
you're beautiful just the way you are.
Thank you,
Jackie. It's been an honor being here with you. I'm so glad we finally get to do this, and I really know and trust that this message will resonate with every young person around the world. I hope you feel compelled to share your stories as well, because it's through story sharing, it's through a coming together as a people that we can build this skin positivity network. Because there's nothing, like Jackie said, there's nothing wrong about you. Everything about you is right. There's nothing wrong. And guess what? Like we said before, we all are dressed in the same skin color. We have the same organ. Skin is the biggest organ in our bodies that we all share.
Right.
We have to begin to embrace that. We have to begin to actually use diversity in skin tones as a strength and not a disadvantage. Because melanin is beautiful. We are beautiful. We are all beautiful. And so even if we can just begin with that and build that kind of self-love from within, and believe that from your core, that Jackie said this to me many times, and I've used it several times, that God makes no mistakes.
That's right.
We are perfectly formed.
Oh, yeah.
We are beautiful beings. And so if we can even begin with that, that would be a great place to begin to build a world where we can all thrive. Thank you, Jackie. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to add. If you feel compelled to support Myskinglobal, please join us. Make a donation on www.myskinglobal.com. Click on donate, share your story, join the network, like us on our social media. We have Instagram, LinkedIn, and also on YouTube. Please join us and help me in thanking Jackie for taking this bold step from the beginning of Myskinglobal's formation to this day. She's a champion for youth and a mental health expert and a mental health advocate. And honestly, a mentor for me. Jackie, I love you and I'm so grateful for you, for your support, for your love of the community and our people. Thank you.
Thank you.